I have conversations with my kids about politics all the time. They don't agree with my politics all the time, but I feel like I have to counter program so much of what they're learning in public school.
Yes, absolutely. How old are yours?
16 and 20. So I've got a 20-year-old who had just started her junior year in college. And now that she's working and they're taking taxes out of every paycheck, it's a very frustrating point for her because she goes outside and she looks around and, when she's in New York, the mentally ill homeless people that she encounters on a daily basis, she's like, why aren't they getting help? Like, the money's coming out of my paycheck. I can't afford to pay for everything with my tax money, but the tax money that the city gets from everyone, why isn't it helping these people? And it's like, well, that is the basis for your political education right there.
Yeah, and it's good, though, because they can listen to us and we can tell them our why behind our beliefs, whatever. But then when they go out and they experience it and they feel it, they're like, oh crap. But they're still being told by many peers the opposite. And so I think most kids are quite the opposite of what Kamala Harris said they were. I mean, I forgot the exact language back a year or two ago, but basically those kids are dummies or stupid. We shouldn't listen to anything they're saying. Man, that turned out a little differently in this past election, I'd say. My kids are 23, 21, and 19.
Okay.
The 23-year-old graduated in May from college and is working in Nashville.
Nice.
And the other day on the phone, I think I put it on my Instagram, and she's like, Mom, I can't believe I have to do this the rest of my life. And I said, do what? She goes, work. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
And then you look at the paycheck. She is probably the one that is the most thoughtful so far with her opinions and understanding them and being able to communicate them and ask questions. My son suddenly is now too. He's the 21-year-old between the two psycho girls, right? So he obviously is very different and thoughtful and sits back and watches. He sends me stuff all the time, like TikTok news. And I tell him, I'm like, okay, that's the problem. That's the only place you're getting your news. So I'm going to challenge you, Nicholas. Take that. Great. Read it. Watch it. And go over here and try something else and something else. And then you'll see the difference. And then, I don't know, you figure out on your own what you choose to believe, but understand that it does matter. Context matters based on where you get it. And then my youngest, who's a sophomore at Ole Miss, I mean, she's definitely the more liberal of the three so far. Doesn't surprise me really, but I love that they're different and I love that they can have the conversation. They haven't always liked what I've said and done, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've apologized at times. Like right before I filed my lawsuit against Disney and ESPN, unfortunately, the First Amendment thing, I went to each of the kids the night before and said, listen, this is what's going to come. And I'm sorry, because it's not fair that you're going to feel this because people attacked them, like disgusting threats on my kids based on their mom's opinion, but you need to see that to understand the world that you are entering. And if I'm silent at this point, which I had been for years to protect myself, but protect them, I can't look myself in the mirror anymore. And I pray that you don't wait as long as I did to be true to yourself. You can express your opinion and do it with kindness and being professional. You don't have to attack. I hope they don't wait as long as I did.
Yeah, and you can also have curiosity. And, it sounds like you are a good role model for them. I know in the past you've talked about kind of being a strict mom. And it doesn't matter, like, what I do or where I'm lax. My girls will always remember the times that I say no. And I always push back on what they wear, because I'm like, what you wear and how you look is a reflection of who you are. And, it's like, I understand trends, I understand summer, but, don't look cheap. And, it's like, have thought and respect for yourself and dress for yourself. Don't dress for other people. Don't dress for boys. And, they always get mad at me for stuff like that. But then I see, and I'm wondering what your opinion is, because obviously, as our kids get older, you fight as hard as you can to preserve the last vestiges of their childhood. And, hopefully as parents, we encourage kids to be kids, and which is harder and harder to do, and you have more to fight against. But I saw a picture of Kim Kardashian and her oldest daughter, Northwest, in Rome, and Northwest, I thought it was Nicki Minaj. It's like a 12-year-old girl is pouring out of a corset and, wearing a mini skirt and a corset. And I'm looking at this and, it's like, she doesn't have to wear a burqa, but at some point, shouldn't someone that high profile have enough respect for herself and her child to say no?
You would think, because she has been lauded as a good parent throughout the years, and she certainly put up with a lot from her ex-husband, et cetera. It's one thing to say, listen, I'm 50. I can do what I want. I can dress how I want. You're 12. You're 16. You can't. You wait till you're an adult. Fine. Which, okay, a little hypocritical, fine, because we are supposed to lead and guide, but we are adults. We've been through it. But then to allow your kid to do, no, I'm sure the kid wants to, because so many girls want to emulate what their mothers do. But that, like, now what are you teaching them? It's one thing to let your own boobs hang out, if I had any. It's another to almost encourage your 12-year-old to do that. What I always say to my girls, and it has ticked them off so many times, but I think now they're admitting that they understood at least why I was asking, why? Like, what's your goal in going out with everything hanging out? Why? Because, and I've gotten in trouble, Kennedy, for saying this in the past about women in general in professional spaces, in locker rooms where I grew up for 30 years as a sportscaster. We are so smart as women. We know exactly what we're wearing and why. We might not want to admit it, but we know what we're doing. So you're damn right that I had issues when women would walk into locker rooms with their ass cheeks hanging out and tight and all the things. Like, go for it when you're going to the club or out to a dinner with your person. But in a professional space, and that doesn't mean you deserve, cat calls, whatever it is, but don't be surprised. I don't know what the line is. My daughters now, like I said, get it a little bit more. But ask yourself why. Honestly, what's your goal for wearing that? Because when we're doing it like all that, you're trying to get attention. So don't be all upset when it comes. And it's a touchy subject. One more time. This doesn't mean we deserve anything, right? Men, be better. Be better. Control yourselves. And we need to be accountable as well.
Yeah, and have respect for how you dress. And you're absolutely right. Like, context is everything. And if you're going out and, you want to be as attractive and feel as attractive as possible as an adult, that's one thing. But I agree. If you're going into a space as a journalist, don't dress like a backup dancer.
Please. And, I always had a rule because, especially being on ESPN for all those years, and it was full body shot, head to toe. We're walking and talking and doing highlights, but like all of it. And so you did have to care. It can mess you up too, as you know, right? It can make you self-conscious and, oh my gosh, my body, this and that. But I always thought, all right, if this is a fitted dress, I feel good in it, great. But let's not have fitted and really short, or shorter and maybe not as tight. Like, just pick one. Does it have to be both? Quite often, if you think about it, if you're in an airport or a restaurant, I mean, there's TVs everywhere. I'm pretty sure that at least half of my audience, all those years when I was at ESPN, they didn't hear a thing I said because they're watching, not listening, because they're at a bar. And so they're not even listening to the, what I hope was really smart stuff coming out of my mouth, the interviews or the highlights, but they saw. And that is people's, that first impression that we talk about all the time with our kids, that you only get that one chance, that first chance to make that first impression, right or wrong, it matters.